Hello. Today we're going to cover some tools and adjustments and special effects things that we can do in Illustrator. It's the pre-prep for this bunny assignment that I'm giving my class to work on. But these are some of the things I want you guys to look at and prepare for so that when you follow me on that assignment you won't be lost. Because as you can see, I'll show you real quick, that there are quite a bit of things. This is a vectored version of this bunny. And it's really amazing. We can do this in a very short period of time. And then, of course, the lovely 42-step ta-da project of how to do it step-by-step to make this bunny. It seems a lot, but nonetheless, it can be done. So I wanted to cover the things you have to practice and get prepared for so that you can go in it, run it. So rectangle tool, ellipsoid tool, star tool. You can see the star tool is the only one that doesn't have a shortcut key. Ellipsoid has L, rectangle tool has M, line tool even has a shortcut if you just push the dash button. So for example, I could push M, make my rectangle, push L, make my ellipsoid, push the dash button, and make my line. Of course, I have to click and drag to get to the star tool, and I can either, with any of these tools, I can click and it gives me options so I can put in exact, numbers. Another thing, as you can see, I don't have a fill on the star tool. So if I wanted a fill, I'd have to click on the fill and give it a white or whatever color. Whereas the rectangle and the ellipsoid tool have a fill. And obviously, a line doesn't because it's just a stroke. But nonetheless, let's get into more details. For example, direct select tool. Direct select tool allows you to just grab those points. And then up here, you have a smooth anchor point. So you can actually take the corners of objects. If you just select the points without selecting them all, you can take the corners of objects and actually round out every corner. So you can give every point a handle. Now, let me get my rectangle tool real quick. And I'll make another rectangle because I wanted to show you a different way of rounding out these corners with an effect adjustment. So one thing, if you go under the Pathfinder, not Pathfinder, if you look at effects and you go to stylize and you go to rounded corners, you can actually round out these corners. You hit the preview button so you can see what you're doing, and you can actually round the corners out. And you can see the data is still there. The original points are still there. Even if I get my direct select tool, you can see the original points are there. The only way to get those lines that have been pre-made for you is to go to Object, Expand Appearance. So now it takes the appearance and turns that into the object instead. So there's a lot of different things you can do using this, the effects. So, we got effects, stylize round corners. I'll make another shape real quick. I'll show you the warp. So you can go to Effect, Warp, you go Arch, and from Arch you can actually hit the preview button. You can see the different arch options you have. You can arc the shell shape, you can give it a flag or a wavy shape. You can adjust how much horizontally or vertically. So you can create some pretty interesting effects. The percentage of how much in which direction, make it more, make it less. So those are options you have just to create different shapes out of the original triangle. And again, you can see the triangle is still there. Direct select points, you can see the points are there. And the only way to get that shape is expand appearance. So now you can even see that it's turned it into a vector shape for you. Okay. How about object transformation reflect? So if I want to take this and want to go the other way, object transform, reflect, and there's options like angle, vertical, horizontal. Hit the preview button, you can see how it changes. The thing about it is that horizontal flips it on this bottom axis, vertical flips it by the side, and you can also rotate it like 45 degrees. And you can see what happens. You can make a copy of it, so you're not working with the original. So now I have a copy of that original shape. Then object path offset. Offset path literally just allows you to make another version of that, but it allows you to offset the path so that you have two different objects. It kind of makes like a grouped object. You can play with the things here. So now what happens if I double click it, you can see that there's layers of information. There's this one and that one. It's not just two things. If I wanted to ungroup these, select it, right click, or go into object, same thing. A lot of things when you right click, it gives you the same object options that you have here. So you have group. What you want to do is out of the selection, obviously. If I double clicked it, you're in the selection. If I click off of it, you're on the out of the selection. You want to ungroup, and now I can just grab one object and then another object. Obviously, these are the white fills, and then those two are the strokes. So if I didn't want the strokes, I can take just that or select just the stroke of that object. So you can see that there's different things there to play with. Let's see, what's next? Control F. So let me just play with, let me get this object right here, and I'm going to give it a fill color so you can see what I'm doing. I'll make it blue. I'll make this one red. Red and blue. Woo. So now, what happens is if I hit Control C to copy it, obviously, Control F pastes it in front. So now, the object's in front of it. If I hit Control B, if I hit copy and Control B, and I push it around, the object, Control B, puts the object behind it. I got to do this right, but give me a second. So this one, I Control B, it puts it behind. So now you can see that object was in front, but now it's behind it. And you can see that you can create layers of information by putting objects in front and behind by hitting Control B for back, Control F for front, which pastes that object that you copied in the front or back, depending on which one you made. Also, let's get into radial and linear gradients. So if you wanted to make a gradient on this object, you could get your gradient tool and make a gradient. Also, you can go in here. Linear gradients obviously are just going one direction. And radial gradients, if you look at it, go out from the center. So the thing is that when you are working with a gradient, if you want things to kind of shift from one side to the other, you can add linear. Radials go from the center out. To adjust these gradients, just click on the object, go to the gradient panel. You can adjust the colors. You can add gradient colors. I can make it go from white. I just pulled this out because it makes it easier to work with. I can make it go to orange color instead, and you can adjust the gradients as well as for the radials too. Radials work the same way. You can adjust it by adding colors. You can change the colors, obviously. Just double click on the swatch and you can change the colors. The thing is, if you wanted to change it from linear to radial, you can do that very easily by just clicking radial and linear, and it does that adjustment for you that quick. So you don't have to worry about going in and adjusting it by hand. That's linear and radial adjustments and adjusting the colors. The last thing, the second from last thing is the Pathfinder. So, for example, if I had this star and I wanted to cut it out from the shape that's, obviously it's behind it, but if I wanted to cut out the shape, because remember we're dealing with layers, so that object's still in front, but I put that star behind it. Let's go to our Pathfinder panel. If any time you don't have a panel, put this back. If any time you don't have a panel over here, go to Window, and you can find your panels. Just like in Photoshop, works the same way. You can get your Pathfinder. I like to click and drag them out. But if I select these two, if I do shape mode like minus front, let's see, let me actually shrink this down a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll go minus front. What it does is the part that is in front cuts out the object behind it. Control Z. If I do minus back, the object that's behind it gets cut out from what's in front. So it does a lot of different adjustments, and it also expands it for you. So now you can see the actual shape by shape. Then you also have intersecting shapes. So the part where they intersect, you can cut out. So now it's just the part that touches both the circle, or the, my little rectangle, and the star. So play with these because there's a lot of different fun options, and it really helps to know. Lastly, go to transparency. Put that back in there. Transparency. You have, like in Photoshop, you have different layer effects. So I can do these layer effects just like in Photoshop. And so now I have multiply, I can do darken, I can do lighten. Obviously, every adjustment affects things that overlap each other. So you can create really cool effects just with overlapping colors and gradients and everything. It's really good. And this is stuff that you guys should practice often. So hopefully this tutorial kind of gets you in shape. Keep practicing with these things that I've gone over today. These are kind of a crash course to what the basics of Illustrator is about. And if you have any questions, leave a comment, contact me. I'll gladly get you back and help you out with anything. Want me to show you how to do something? I can do that. All right. I'll talk to you later.